Captain Jake Morrison walked into the biggest room he had ever seen. The walls were made of some kind of crystal that glowed with soft blue light. The ceiling was so high he could barely see it. In the center of the room stood creatures that looked like walking diamonds, each one twice as tall as a human. Jake had been preparing for this moment for 3 years. Earth had made contact with aliens when he was just a young officer. Now he was leading humanity's most important mission. The aliens called themselves the Zephyrian Council, and they controlled something called the Galactic Trade Federation. Every smart species in the galaxy belonged to it. Every species except humans. Behind Jake walked Commander Lisa Harper. She had been his friend since they were both cadets. Her job was to watch everything and remember it all. Next to her came Dr. Alex Carter, the smartest person Jake knew. Alex carried a small device that recorded everything the alien said. The three humans looked tiny in the huge chamber. Around them stood machines that translated alien words into human language. The machines hummed and clicked as they worked. Jake stopped in front of the tallest alien. This was High Arbiter Velinosh, the leader of the council. The alien's body was like a living diamond, with light moving inside it. When it spoke, the sound was like wind through broken glass. "Humans," Velinosh said through the translator. "You have come again to ask for membership in our federation." "Yes," Jake replied. "We offer our technology, our resources, and our friendship. We want to trade with other species and learn from them." Velinosh made a sound that the translator couldn't change into words. The other aliens around the room made similar sounds. Jake realized they were laughing at him. "Your technology is primitive," Velinosh said. "Your ships are slow. Your weapons are weak. Your minds are simple. What could you possibly offer us?" Lisa felt her hands turn into fists. She had helped design the human ships that brought them here. They had crossed half the galaxy to reach this place. The aliens called their ships slow, but they had made the journey in record time. Alex kept recording. He had studied alien technology for years. He knew that humans had already improved on many alien designs. The aliens just didn't know it yet. "We have much to offer," Jake said calmly. "Our scientists have made discoveries that could help everyone. Our doctors have found new ways to heal sickness. Our engineers have built machines that work better than anything we've seen." "Lies," Velinosh said. "We have tested your species. We have watched you for years. Humans are violent and stupid. You fight wars with your own kind. You destroy your own planet. You are not ready to join civilized beings." The words hit Jake like a punch to the stomach. He had expected the aliens to be difficult, but this was worse than he had imagined. They weren't just saying no. They were saying humans weren't good enough to even ask. "Then what do you suggest?" Jake asked. Velinosh leaned forward. The light inside his crystal body grew brighter. "We offer you a choice. You can become workers for the Federation. We will give you simple jobs to do. You will be fed and housed, but you will not make decisions. You will do as you are told." "And if we refuse?" Lisa asked. "Then you will be alone," Velinosh replied. "No trade, no contact. No help when your sun burns out or your planet dies. You will sit in your small corner of space and slowly fade away." Jake looked at his friends. Lisa's face was red with anger. Alex was still recording, but his eyes were hard as stone. Around the room, the other aliens waited for his answer. For 3 years, Jake had dreamed of this moment. He had imagined bringing good news back to Earth. He had pictured human children growing up in a galaxy full of friends and teachers. He had hoped for a future where humans could learn from older, wiser species. Now he saw the truth. The aliens didn't want to teach humans. They wanted to own them. "We respectfully decline your generous offer," Jake said. His voice was quiet but clear. and we formally withdraw from all negotiations." The room became silent. No alien moved. No machine hummed. Even the lights seemed to dim. Velanash tilted his head. "What did you say?" "We're leaving," Jake said. "We won't be your slaves, and we won't beg for scraps from your table. Humanity will find its own way." The silence stretched on. Finally, Velanash began to laugh. The sound was like breaking glass mixed with wind. The other aliens joined in. The noise filled the huge chamber and echoed off the crystal walls. "You'll be back," Velanash said between laughs. "In 1 year, maybe 2, you will come crawling back. You will beg us to reconsider. You will offer us anything we want." Jake turned to leave. Lisa and Alex followed him. At the door, Jake stopped and looked back at the laughing aliens. "No," he said. "We won't." The 3 humans walked out of the chamber. Behind them, the aliens kept laughing. They thought they had won. They thought humans were too weak and too stupid to survive alone. They would learn how wrong they were got as Jake's ship left the alien station. He sent a message back to Earth. The message was short. Negotiations failed. We're coming home. Prepare for independence. The age of human diplomacy was over. The age of human determination was about to begin. General Patricia Stone was eating breakfast when the message came through. She was at Luna Base, the biggest military station orbiting Earth's moon. The message was from Captain Jake Morrison, and it was not good news. "All negotiations have ended." The message said, "The aliens want us to be slaves or be alone. We chose alone. All human personnel should return to Earth space immediately." Patricia put down her coffee cup. She had been expecting this message for months. While Jake and his team tried to make friends with the aliens, Patricia had been making different plans. She had been preparing for war, but not the kind of war the aliens expected. Dr. Kevin Walsh was working in his laboratory when Patricia called him. Kevin was the head of the Terran Research Initiative, the most secret project on Earth. For 3 years, while diplomats talked to aliens, Kevin and his team had been studying alien technology. "It's time," Patricia told him over the secure communication line. "How ready are we?" Kevin looked around his lab. On the tables were pieces of alien equipment that had been taken apart and put back together. Human engineers had been improving alien designs for years. The aliens had no idea. "We're more than ready," Kevin said. "We've been ready for months." The aliens thought human technology was primitive. They were wrong. Human technology was different. While aliens had used the same designs for thousands of years, humans kept making things better. They took alien ideas and made them work faster, stronger, and smarter. That Colonel Amy Rodriguez got her orders that same day. Her job was to bring every human home from alien space. There were thousands of humans working on alien worlds and space stations. They were traders, diplomats, students, and workers. All of them had to come home. Amy had been planning this operation for a year. She called it Operation Homecoming. Every human in alien space had a secret communication device. When Amy sent the signal, they would all know what to do. The signal went out at exactly noon, Earth time. Across the galaxy, humans began to pack their belongings. They quit their jobs, closed their businesses, and said goodbye to alien friends. They all headed for the nearest spaceport. The aliens were confused. Humans had been eager to work and learn in alien society. Now they were all leaving at once. Some aliens asked questions, but humans just smiled and said they were needed at home. Captain Steve Bennett commanded the exploration ship UN's Horizon. He had been mapping unknown star systems for the Federation. When he got Amy's signal, he turned his ship around and headed for Earth. On his way home, Steve discovered something interesting. The star maps the aliens had given him were wrong. They showed empty space where Steve found planets and resources. The aliens had been lying about what was out there. Steve began to understand. The aliens didn't want other species to explore too much. They wanted to control what everyone knew about the galaxy. They had been keeping secrets for thousands of years. Within 6 months, every human had left alien space. The operation was so smooth that many aliens didn't notice until it was over. Trading posts that had been run by humans for years were suddenly empty. Research stations went quiet. Even the alien news services that employed human reporters found their offices vacant. Federation Council met to discuss the human withdrawal. Most of them thought it was funny. High Arbiter Velanash himself said, "Let them go. They will be back when they run out of food." But some aliens were worried. The Corvani, a slave species that worked in the mines, had been talking quietly with humans for years. When the humans left, they took some Corvani with them. The Federation didn't notice, because they never counted slaves very carefully. The Threshen, who had been conquered by the Federation centuries ago, also began to act strangely. They had been model citizens, never causing trouble. Now they were asking questions about old laws and forgotten rights. Other species began to whisper. The Valdari, who lived in the outer systems, started missing their tax payments. The Tecton Union, a group of small worlds, began holding secret meetings. Dr. Susan Blake was monitoring all of this from Earth. She worked for the Global Intelligence Service, and her job was to listen to alien communications. She had been recording alien messages for years, learning about their politics and their problems. What Susan discovered was shocking. The Federation was not the happy family of species it pretended to be. Most members were either slaves or subjects. Only a few species, like the Zephyrians, actually had real power. The rest were just following orders. Susan realized that the Federation had many enemies. Species that had been conquered, enslaved, or pushed around for centuries. They had been waiting for someone strong enough to challenge the system. Now humans were gone from Federation space, but they were not hiding. Long-range sensors detected human ships in systems the Federation had never explored. Energy signatures appeared in empty space where no life should exist. Admiral Carl Hayes was in charge of building humanity's new empire. While the Federation thought humans were weak and primitive, Carl was establishing colonies in places the aliens had never thought to look. The Federation controlled the easy worlds, the ones close to major trade routes. But the galaxy was huge, and there were millions of worlds they had ignored. Worlds that were too far away, too dangerous, or too difficult to reach. Humans were claiming these worlds. Using new technology based on improved alien designs, they were building cities in places where aliens said life was impossible. They were mining resources the aliens didn't know existed. They were growing stronger every day. Lieutenant Colonel Beth Palmer made the first contact with the Corvani resistance. The Corvani had been fighting the Federation for decades, hiding in asteroid belts and abandoned systems. They were losing badly because they had old weapons and broken ships. Beth offered them something they had never dared to dream of: human weapons, human ships, and human training. In return, the Corvani would share their knowledge of Federation weaknesses. The deal was made in secret in a hidden base inside a dead comet. Within weeks, Corvani raiders were attacking Federation supply lines with weapons that cut through alien shields like paper. The Federation blamed pirates and increased their patrols. They never suspected that humans were involved. Back on Earth, President Laura Mitchell signed the order that would change everything. The order was simple. The United Earth government formally declares independence from all alien authority. We will defend our right to exist as a free species. The declaration was broadcast to every human colony and every human ship. It was also sent to the Federation Council, along with a simple message: We tried to be your friends. You chose to be our enemies. The consequences are yours to face. The age of human diplomacy was over. The age of human war was about to begin. Commander Rachel Torres was working the night shift at Deep Space Station Alpha when her sensors picked up something impossible. The station was humanity's most advanced listening post, hidden in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Its job was to watch for alien activity near Earth. What Rachel saw on her screen made her call her supervisor immediately. Massive energy signatures were appearing in star systems that were supposed to be empty. The signatures were too big to be natural and too organized to be random. "Sir, you need to see this," Rachel said when Admiral Hayes answered her call. "Something is building ships out there. Big ships. And they're not Federation designs." Hayes looked at the data Rachel sent him. The energy signatures were appearing in 12 different star systems, all of them far from Federation space. Someone was building a fleet, and the Federation had no idea. Of course, Hayes knew exactly who was building those ships. He had authorized the construction himself. Dr. Susan Blake was having the same kind of night at the Global Intelligence Center. She was tracking Federation communications when she noticed something strange. Ships were disappearing from trade routes that had been safe for thousands of years. The disappearances were not random. They followed a pattern. Supply ships carrying weapons and advanced technology were vanishing without sending distress signals. The Federation was losing entire convoys, and they had no idea where the ships were going. Susan smiled as she filed her report. She knew where those ships were going. They were going to human bases, where human engineers were taking them apart and learning how they worked. The Federation was teaching humanity about their technology, one stolen ship at a time. Lieutenant Colonel Beth Palmer was meeting with her. New allies in a secret base built inside a hollow asteroid. The base was invisible to Federation sensors, protected by human stealth technology that the aliens had never seen before. Around the table sat representatives from a dozen different species. They were all enemies of the Federation, but they had never worked together before. They had been too weak, too scattered, and too afraid. Now they had human weapons and human advisors. They were learning to fight as a team. The Corvani have destroyed 3 Federation supply depots this month, Beth reported. The Threshen have been sabotaging mining operations on 6 different worlds. The Valdari have been intercepting Federation communications. The alien representatives listened carefully. They had been fighting the Federation for decades, but they had never won important victories before. Now they were winning battles every week. "What about the Tecton Union?" asked Greg, the Corvani leader. His people looked like giant bears with 4 arms, and they had been slaves for so long they had almost forgotten what freedom felt like. "The Tecton are preparing for something big," Beth replied. "They've been evacuating civilians from their industrial worlds. I think they're planning to destroy their own factories rather than let the Federation use them." The plan was working perfectly. While the Federation looked for human fleets in the wrong places, their own empire was falling apart from the inside. Slave species were rebelling. Subject worlds were refusing to pay taxes. Trade routes were becoming dangerous. The Federation Council was starting to panic. Captain Tony Richards was commanding the Unzee Defiance, one of the new ships built in the secret shipyards. The ship was fast, heavily armed, and invisible to Federation sensors. It was also much bigger than anything humans had built before. Tony's mission was to test Federation defenses around their core worlds. He was supposed to get close enough to scan their military bases without being detected. The mission was almost too easy. Federation patrol ships were old and slow. Their sensors couldn't detect human stealth technology. Tony flew right past their defenses and mapped their entire military network. What he found was shocking. The Federation military was much weaker than they pretended. Most of their ships were thousands of years old. Their weapons were outdated. Their soldiers were poorly trained. The Federation had been strong for so long that they had forgotten how to fight real wars. They had been crushing weak enemies for centuries, but they had never faced an opponent with better technology. Tony sent his report back to Earth, along with detailed scans of every Federation military base in 3 star systems. The information would be very useful when the real war began. Dr. Jennifer Walsh was working in the same laboratory where her father had started the revolution. Kevin Walsh had died in a testing accident 6 months earlier, but his daughter had continued his work. Jennifer had solved the last problem with human faster-than-light travel. The new engines could move ships twice as fast as Federation technology. Human fleets could appear anywhere in the galaxy without warning. The first test of the new engines was scheduled for next week. If it worked, human ships would be able to strike Federation targets and disappear before the aliens could respond. Jennifer was confident it would work. Human engineering had surpassed alien technology in every important area. The Federation just didn't know it yet. General Marcus Thompson was planning the largest military operation in galactic history. His office was covered with star charts, showing Federation military bases, supply lines, and patrol routes. Marcus had been studying alien warfare for years. He knew their strengths and weaknesses better than they did. The Federation was powerful, but they were also predictable. They had been using the same tactics for thousands of years. Human tactics were different. Humans had learned warfare from fighting each other for thousands of years. They knew how to be sneaky, how to be fast, and how to be ruthless when necessary. Plan Marcus was developing would hit the Federation everywhere at once. While they tried to defend their core worlds, human allies would attack their supply lines. While they sent fleets to chase human ships, their slave worlds would rebel. The Federation would have to fight a dozen different wars at the same time. They would not be able to win them all. President Laura Mitchell was meeting with her military advisors when the final reports came in. Human colonies were established in 50 star systems. Human allies controlled another 30 systems. Human ships were operating in over 100 systems. The Federation still didn't know where humanity's main bases were located. They were looking in the wrong places, following old information that humans had deliberately given them years ago. "Are we ready?" Lavra asked. General Thompson nodded. "We have more ships than they do, better weapons, faster engines, and we have allies throughout their territory." "What about civilian casualties?" Lavra asked. "We're not targeting civilian populations," Thompson replied. "This is a war against the Federation government and military. We want to free the galaxy, not destroy it." Lavra signed the order that would begin the war. The order was simple. Operation Liberation is authorized. All human forces are cleared to engage Federation targets. The message was sent to every human commander in the galaxy. Within hours, human fleets would begin moving toward their targets. Federation had no idea what was coming. High Arbiter Valinash was in his private chambers when the first reports arrived. Federation bases were under attack in 6 different star systems. The attacks were coordinated and devastating. Valinash had been expecting human ships to appear eventually. He had thought they would come begging for mercy, not shooting at Federation. "Installations. How many ships?" he asked his aide. "We don't know," the aide replied. "Our sensors can't detect them clearly. They appear, attack, and disappear before we can respond." Valinash felt something he had not experienced in centuries: fear. The humans were not supposed to be this strong. They were supposed to be primitive and weak. He was beginning to realize that the Federation had made a terrible mistake. The galaxy was about to change forever. President Laura Mitchell stood in the Situation Room deep beneath the White House. The walls were covered with screens showing star maps, battle reports, and communication feeds from across the galaxy. The war that had been planned for months was finally beginning. "Ma'am, we have confirmation from all sectors," reported General Marcus Thompson. "Phase 1 is complete. 37 Federation military bases have been destroyed or captured. Enemy losses are estimated at over 2,000 ships." Lavra nodded, but she felt no joy. War was never something to celebrate, even when it was necessary. "What about our casualties?" "Light," Thompson replied. "We lost 14 ships and about 300 personnel. The enemy never saw us coming. A plan was working exactly as designed. Human fleets had appeared simultaneously in dozens of Federation systems, struck their targets, and vanished before the aliens could organize a response. The Federation military was in chaos. Captain Tony Richards was leading one of those fleets. His ship, the Unzi Defiance, had just finished destroying a Federation supply depot in the Altara system. The battle had lasted less than 10 minutes. "Enemy reinforcements are 30 minutes away," reported his tactical officer. "Should we wait?" "For them? No," Tony replied. "We hit them and leave." "That's the plan." The human fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, leaving behind the burning wreckage of what had once been the Federation's largest ammunition storage facility. By the time Federation ships arrived, the humans were already attacking targets. In 3 other star systems, this was the new kind of warfare the humans had invented. Fast, precise, and impossible to defend against. The Federation had never seen anything like it. Dr. Jennifer Walsh was monitoring the battle from her laboratory on Earth. The new faster-than-light engines were working perfectly. Human ships were moving across the galaxy faster than Federation. Communications could travel. "We're getting reports from the Zephyrian home system," her assistant told her. "The Federation Council is meeting in emergency session." Jennifer smiled. The Zephyrians were about to learn what it felt like to be afraid. For thousands of years, they had been the ones making threats. Now they were the ones being threatened. High Arbiter Velanash was indeed afraid. The crystal chamber where he had once laughed at human diplomats was now filled with panicking Federation officials. Reports were coming in from all over the galaxy, and none of them were good. "The humans have allies," reported Defense Minister Kral Tesh. "The Corvani, the Threshen, the Valdari, and dozens of other species are attacking our installations. Some of our own colony worlds are refusing to follow orders." Velanash's crystalline body flickered with angry red light. "How is this possible? The humans are a single species. They have only one homeworld. We may have underestimated them." Kraltesh replied carefully. "Our intelligence reports suggest they have been preparing for this war for years. They have advanced technology and extensive alliances. Then we destroy their homeworld," Velanash declared. "We send the entire Federation fleet to Earth and eliminate the threat." There was silence in the chamber. Finally, Kraltesh spoke again. "Sir, we don't know where their fleets are. If we send our ships to Earth, they might attack our core worlds while we're gone." It was a trap, and Velanash knew it. The humans were forcing the Federation to choose between defending everything and protecting nothing. Either choice would end in defeat. Commander Rachel Torres was tracking the Federation fleet movements from her station in the asteroid belt. The aliens were trying to organize a response, but they were too slow and too predictable. "They're pulling ships from the outer systems," she reported to Admiral Hayes. "It looks like they're planning to attack Earth." Hayes smiled grimly. "Let them come. We'll be ready." Earth was the most heavily defended planet in the galaxy. The Federation didn't know it, but humans had been building defense systems for years. Any fleet that attacked Earth would be destroyed before it could fire a single shot. More importantly, while the Federation wasted time attacking Earth, human forces would be conquering their empire. Lieutenant Colonel Beth Palmer was coordinating. the largest slave rebellion in galactic history. Across the Federation, subject species were rising up against their masters. The Corvani had taken control of 3 mining worlds. The Threshen had captured a major shipyard. The Valdari had declared independence from Federation rule. The Tecton Union just destroyed their own industrial complex, Beth reported to her. Superiors. They're denying the Federation access to their manufacturing capabilities. The rebellion was spreading faster than the Federation could respond. Every day, more species joined the fight. Every day, the Federation grew weaker. What made it worse for the Federation was that they couldn't tell the difference between rebels and loyal subjects. The uprising was happening everywhere at once, and the Federation couldn't trust anyone. Captain Steve Bennett was leading a human fleet toward the Zephyrian home system. His mission was to deliver a message that the Federation Council would never forget. The Zephyrian system was the most heavily defended in the galaxy. It had orbital battle stations, patrol fleets, and planetary shields. No enemy had ever successfully attacked it. Steve's fleet had 30 ships, all equipped with the latest human technology, against the hundreds of Federation ships defending the system. It should have been suicide, but Steve had advantages the Federation didn't know about. His ships were faster, his weapons were more powerful, and his tactics were centuries ahead of anything the aliens had ever seen. Enemy fleet is moving to intercept, reported his tactical officer. They outnumber us 15 to 1. Then we'll just have to be 15 times better, Steve replied. The battle that followed would be studied in military academies for generations. The human fleet moved like a pack of wolves, striking and retreating, never staying in one place long enough to be targeted effectively. Federation ships were built to fight the kind of slow, formal battles that had been common for thousands of years. They were not prepared for the speed and chaos of human warfare. Within 2 hours, half the Federation fleet was destroyed. The survivors retreated to the inner system, abandoning their defensive positions. Steve's fleet followed them, pushing deeper into the system than any enemy had ever gone. When they reached the homeworld of the Zephyrians, Steve broadcast a message that was heard across the galaxy. "People of the Federation," Steve said, his voice calm and clear, "you have been ruled by fear for too long. The Zephyrians told you that resistance was hopeless. They told you that you were too weak to fight back. They lied. The message was being transmitted on every Federation communication channel. Billions of beings across the galaxy were hearing it. Today, you see their fleet burning in their own home system. Today, you see that they are not gods. They are just another species, and they can be defeated." Steve's fleet began attacking the orbital stations around the Zephyrian homeworld. The stations had been symbols of Federation power for millennia. Now they were being destroyed by a species the Federation had called primitive. "The choice is yours," Steve continued. "You can stay on your knees and serve masters who despise you. Or you can stand up and fight for your freedom. We will help you, but we cannot do it for you." The message ended, but its impact was immediate. Across the galaxy, Federation subjects began to ask themselves a simple question. If humans could defeat the Zephyrians, what was stopping them from doing the same? Back on Earth, President Mitchell was meeting with representatives from 50 different species. They had all sent ambassadors to discuss joining the rebellion against the Federation. "We offer you alliance, not conquest," Mitchell told them. "We want to build a galaxy where every species can determine its own future, where no one rules over others simply because they claim to be superior." The ambassadors listened carefully. They had spent their lives under Federation rule, and they knew what it meant to be considered inferior. The human offer was almost too good to believe. "What do you want in return?" asked the Corvani ambassador. "Help us finish this war," Mitchell replied. "Help us build something better than what came before." One by one, The ambassadors agreed. The rebellion was becoming a revolution, and the revolution was becoming unstoppable. High Arbiter Velanash watched the reports from his homeworld with growing horror. The humans had actually attacked the Zephyrian system. They had destroyed the orbital defenses and broadcast their message of rebellion to the entire galaxy. Worse, the message was working. Colony worlds were declaring independence. Military units were refusing orders. Some Federation species were openly joining the human alliance. "How long until our reinforcements arrive?" Velanash asked. "They're not coming," Kraltesh replied quietly. "The fleets we sent to attack Earth were destroyed. The humans were waiting for them." Velanash felt his crystalline body begin to crack. The Federation was falling apart, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. The age of Federation dominance was ending. The age of galactic freedom was about to begin. High Arbiter Velanash stood in the ruins of what had once been the most powerful building in the galaxy. The Federation council chambers were broken and empty. Crystal walls that had once glowed with proud light were now dark and cracked. War was over. It had lasted exactly 6 months, 2 weeks, and 3 days. The Federation had surrendered unconditionally after their last fleet was destroyed at the Battle of Kepler Station. Velanash was no longer a ruler. He was a prisoner, waiting to hear what the humans would do with him. He expected execution or lifetime imprisonment. That was what the Federation would have done to defeated enemies. Instead, Ambassador Nicole Davis walked into the chamber. She was a small human woman with gray hair and kind eyes. She carried a simple tablet computer and wore no weapons. "High Arbiter," she said politely. "I'm here to discuss the terms of surrender." Velanash's crystalline body flickered with surprise. "You're going to negotiate with me? After what my people did to yours? That's what civilized beings do," Nicole replied. "They talk instead of fighting when the fighting is over." She activated her tablet and began reading from it. "The Federation is dissolved effective immediately. All member species are granted full independence. All slave species are freed. All prisoners of war will be released." Velanash waited for the punishment. It didn't come. "What about my people?" he asked. "What? About the Zephyrians?" "You'll be treated like everyone else," Nicole said. "You'll have one vote in the new Galactic Assembly, same as every other species. You'll be free to govern yourselves as you choose." "That's all?" Velanash couldn't believe it. "You're not going to execute us? Enslave us? Destroy our worlds?" Nicole looked at him with something that might have been pity. "We're not you," she said simply. "We don't believe in revenge. We believe in justice." She stood to leave, then paused at the door. "There is one condition. You personally will stand trial for crimes against sapient beings. If you're found guilty, you'll serve time in prison. But you'll be alive, and when your sentence is complete, you'll be free." After she left, Velanash sat alone in the broken chamber. He had expected death and received mercy. He had expected slavery and received freedom. He was beginning to understand why the humans had won. Commander Henry Clark was overseeing the liberation of the last Federation prison world. The planet was called Despair, and it had been home to millions of beings whose only crime was belonging to the wrong species. The prisoners could barely believe they were free. Many of them had been born in captivity. They had never known anything but Federation rule. "What happens to us now?" asked an elderly Threshan woman. Her people had been conquered so long ago that most of them had forgotten their original homeworld. "That's up to you," Henry replied. "You can go home if you want. You can stay here and build a new life. You can join the crews of the ships that freed you. The choice is yours." The woman began to cry. She had never been given a choice before. All across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. Slave worlds, were becoming free worlds. Prison camps were being emptied. Species that had been scattered were being reunited. The humans had kept their promise. They had come not as conquerors, but as liberators. Dr. Elizabeth Harper was helping to establish a first session of the new Galactic Assembly. Elizabeth was Lisa Harper's sister, and she had spent years studying alien cultures and languages. The assembly was being held on a neutral world called Haven, which had been chosen because it had no political connections to any major species. Representatives from over 300 species had come to write the founding documents of the new government. The first principle, Elizabeth announced to the gathered delegates, is that all sapient beings are created equal. No species is superior to any other. No species has the right to rule over others. The delegates listened carefully. Many of them had never heard such words before. Under Federation rule, equality had been a forbidden concept. The second principle is that every species has the right to determine its own future. No one can be forced to join the assembly. No one can be forced to leave. A Corvani delegate raised his hand. What about species that don't want to follow these principles? What about species that want to conquer others? Elizabeth smiled. Then they'll face the same choice the Federation faced. They can change their ways, or they can be stopped. The assembly voted on the principles one by one. The votes were unanimous. Every species, from the smallest to the largest, had an equal voice. The humans, despite their role as liberators, claimed only one vote among equals. They had no special privileges, no extra power, no right to make decisions for others. Captain Jake Morrison was back on Earth, writing his final report about the diplomatic mission that had started it all. 3 years had passed since he walked out of the Federation Council chambers. 3 years since the aliens had laughed at human dignity. The mission was a success, he wrote. Not in the way we originally planned, but in the way that mattered most. We learned that some negotiations are meant to fail. We learned that sometimes walking away is the only honorable choice. Jake thought about High Arbiter Velinash, now serving a 20-year sentence for crimes against sapient beings. The alien had been surprised by the fairness of his trial. He had expected human justice to be as cruel as Federation justice had been. During his trial, Velinash had asked Jake why humans had shown him mercy. Jake's answer had been simple. Because we're better than you taught us to be. The galaxy was changing rapidly. Trade routes that had been controlled by the Federation for millennia were now open to everyone. Scientific knowledge that had been hoarded by the ruling species was being shared freely. Art, music, and literature from hundreds of cultures were spreading across the stars. Dr. Alex Carter, who had recorded those first negotiations, was now running the Galactic Science Exchange. His job was to help species share their knowledge and discoveries. The Federation kept us all isolated, Alex explained to a group of young scientists from a dozen different worlds. They wanted us to depend on them for everything. Now we can learn from each other. The young scientists were working together on projects that would have been impossible under Federation rule. A Corvani engineer was collaborating with a human physicist to develop new, faster-than-light engines. A Thrussian biologist was working with a Valdori chemist to create new medicines. Knowledge was flowing freely, and everyone was benefiting. Commander Lisa Harper had been promoted to Admiral and was now in charge of the Galactic Defense Force. Her job was to protect the new government from anyone who might want to destroy it. We're not the Federation, she told her officers during a briefing. We don't conquer worlds or enslave species, but we will defend freedom whenever it's threatened. The Defense Force was made up of volunteers from every member species. They had all chosen to serve, and they all believed in the principles of the new government. There had been challenges. Some former Federation species had tried to maintain their old ways. A few had attempted to conquer their neighbors or restart the slave trade. Each time, The defense force had responded quickly and decisively. The message was clear. The galaxy would never again be ruled by fear. President Laura Mitchell was in her final year in office. She had decided not to run for re-election, believing that democracy worked best when power changed hands regularly. "We've accomplished something remarkable," she told her cabinet during their last meeting. "We've proven that different species can work together as equals. We've shown that cooperation is stronger than conquest." The new government was far from perfect. There were still disputes between species, still problems to solve, still injustices to correct. But now there was hope. Now there was a way to address problems without violence. The Galactic Assembly had passed laws protecting the rights of all sapient beings. Slavery was illegal everywhere. Genocide was a crime that would be punished by the entire galaxy. Every species had the right to govern itself according to its own values, as long as those values didn't harm others. General Marcus Thompson was writing the official history of the Liberation War. He wanted future generations to understand how it had happened and why it had been necessary. "The Federation made one crucial mistake," he wrote. "They believed that might makes right. They thought that because they had been powerful for so long, they deserved to rule over others." Marcus included interviews with soldiers from both sides of the war. Many Federation officers had admitted that they had never questioned their right to rule. They had simply assumed that some species were naturally superior to others. "The war taught us that there are no superior species," Marcus concluded. "There are only species that have had different opportunities. When given the chance, every species can achieve great things." The galaxy was proving him right. Former slave species were building beautiful cities and creating works of art that amazed everyone. Species that had been considered primitive were making scientific discoveries that advanced the knowledge of all. The Corvani had become master engineers, building space stations that were marvels of design. The Threshen had developed new forms of music that touched the souls of beings from dozens of different worlds. The Valdari had created agricultural techniques that could feed entire star systems. Every species had something unique to contribute. Captain Tony Richards was no